What's up everybody, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm hanging out at a spot right off the Chattahoochee River. This is a spot where we will sometimes launch our kayaks from whenever we're kayaking this river, which is something that we really enjoy doing. I love getting to kayak on the Chat. It's a really nice time. It's a really nice river. And today, I'm flipping my Alien by Stitch Steel. I was just talking to Stitch earlier today, and he's doing well, making the Paradigm. The Paradigm's another really cool Balisong that he's been working on, and something that I want to get my hands on eventually as well, but it's an expensive boy, so, you know, I'll save up my money for that. Anyways, today I wanted to talk a little bit about music and genre, because it's something that I've found interesting and something that I've thought about a lot. I think that music and genre both have kind of come a long way. You know, I think that we started out with genre as a defining factor that was very rigid, right? So specifically, if we want to focus in on a type of music like electronic music, genre was defined very rigidly by rules that kind of made each genre. So for house music, for instance, house music generally happens from 128 to 130 beats per minute. House music generally has a well-defined four-on-the-floor style kick snare pattern. So you've just got like a boom, kick, boom, kick, boom, kick, you know? And that's happening at approximately 128 beats per minute. Now, you know, this is the kind of thing that is very well defined and, you know, has a simple set of rules that you can sort of look at and follow and say, yes, this is house music and this isn't house music. You know, the sounds inside of it are characteristic of house music because of these specific factors. It's the same thing with like dubstep, right? Dubstep is approximately 140 beats per minute, usually with reggaeton style syncopated rhythm that can turn into four-on-the-floor stuff, but you know, there's a dub-inspired syncopated rhythm that happens, and that's what makes dubstep, right? Like, I don't know, those kind of things are very interesting to me. Am I even recording right now? Yes, I am. Good. I can't tell. It's very bright out. And so I couldn't actually see the recording symbol. And so I thought maybe I wasn't recording, which would have been unfortunate. Anyways, so these genres exist and like have pretty defined, you know, meanings. Drum and bass was around 170 beats per minute often, but it was in general drum and bass just very high beats per minute. And specifically, it always has that the amen break as the bass, you know, sound of drum and bass. That's the whole drum part of drum and bass is the amen break. It's taking that sample and utilizing it in different ways and then adding bass on top of it to create interesting stuff. But, you know, once again, a relatively well-defined genre. Nowadays, in the modern era, as the music scene moved more onto the internet, genre became less defined by specific factors that you could like look at and link to. So, for instance, BPM is a really big one that I think is a great example. And something that I think is really interesting is trap music, right? Trap came out and really took over the electronic music scene. It blew up in popularity very quickly, and I think there was a certain style of trap that was moderately well defined as trap initially. However, because it also came about with the time, I think, where like production on the internet became very popular and became like something that people are doing on a regular basis. You know, more kids were getting into music production because of people like Skrillex or Deadmau5 and realizing that they could just pirate a DAW off the internet and learn to, you know, produce inside of Fruity Loops. And suddenly they're a producer and they're taking all of these influences that helped them define their musical identity, and they're putting them back out in new and unique and interesting ways. And so the internet's prevalence allowed for more experimentation in the music scene, and especially in the electronic music scene. And so this kind of thing, I think, is really cool because suddenly you have trap, right? Which has a massive gamut of BPM ranges that it can exist within, right? So like I've seen trap songs that are all the way up into like 180 to 190 BPM and all the way as low as like 95 beats per minute. And obviously, yeah, you can say that 90 and 180 are actually about the same BPM, just doubled. But there's everything in between, right? I've seen trap music at 115 beats per minute. I've seen it at 150. I've seen it at 145. Like, trap music isn't defined by any specific beats per minute. It's defined by a feeling, right? And that is what I want to get into, because genre as a feeling is a really interesting concept. This rock was looser than I expected. Genre as a feeling is a really interesting concept to me, because I think that musical genre should be defined by feeling, right? You know, not necessarily by instrumentation and not necessarily by the, you know, beats per minute or any technical factors. And while those do have a useful place for defining genre, at the end of the day, and I think this is something that Spotify has very much proved with their, you know, massive library of different playlists and stuff like that, genre as a feeling is the way that genre has evolved due to the internet and the prevalence of all of these different musical artists suddenly getting eyes on them and everybody experimenting in interesting ways. Now, it's not so easy to define something as just trap or hip hop or pop, or, I mean, pop, it covers basically everything, but as long as it's popular. Either way, I think genre has evolved to be more than just a thing that lets you know, oh yeah, this is house music, it's going to be 4 on the floor at 128 beats per minute, there you go. It's not just a tool that DJs can use. Oh, there's a bunch of wind. It's not just a tool that DJs can use for like categorizing their music. Now, genre is about vibes. It's about how does the music feel to the listener. That's really a lot of the stuff that's created stuff like hyperpop. Hyperpop is this wildly interesting genre that is the clash between emo music and heavy metal and rock music, and also stuff like early rave music and dubstep and rhythm. Hyperpop can be literally anything. However, it's wild because when you listen to hyperpop, you know that it's hyperpop, because you can take the vibe that they're giving you from all of these different influences and distilling it down into a feeling and an idea and an identity that becomes clear, even if it's kind of hard to describe technically. And I think that's what's really interesting about genre as a feeling, is that it's difficult to describe technically. I don't know if you know this, but I DJ a lot, and I really love DJing. And when I'm building my music libraries nowadays, I often build a music library from scratch every time I make a new set. And when I'm doing that, it actually has become pretty hard to build those libraries. Back in the day, it was like, oh yeah, this is house, this is dubstep, this is gonna be drum and bass, this is tech house, this is electro house. Like, you know, you could tell each one pretty easily what it was, and I could put it into its little category. Now, I have to make up my own stuff. Like, I just have a folder called noise. Like, it's just noise in all caps, because I put noise music into there. Like, there's like music that is just this really intense mid-tempo blasting sound noise. A great example of this is 1788-L on Spotify, 1788-L. They're an awesome artist that makes just the craziest shit you've ever heard. Like, it is like big, blaring, you know, huge horns and like noise. And it fills a stadium, and it's fantastic to drop in to surprise an audience. But the only word I can come up for the genre of it is noise, because that's the vibe that it gives me. And I've found other, you know, musicians that do that. Mid-tempo is another genre that's really increased in popularity due to Rez recently. Mid-tempo is stuff that happens where essentially it's what happens when you take dubstep and slow it down. right? So it has a lot of the same feelings, the dark, brooding feelings of dubstep, where you've got these really intense, large synthesizers, but not much else actually going on. And then you take that vibe and you reduce it all the way down to like 110 to 120 beats per minute. And then you add in a few trance influences and have like acid stabs happening and stuff like that. I don't know. There's just some really interesting genres that have become to pop up and sprout in popularity, and the idea of genre as a feeling is something that I think most people agree on, even if they don't even know that it exists. But it's something that I've had swimming around in my brain for quite some time now, just because I think it's so cool and so important, you know, that we stop defining genre as this like specific thing. I think something that I've found really interesting is different bands that I've been exploring that have come out recently making music in full albums where the album itself has no specific genre. The band doesn't have a specific genre. A couple really good bands like that are, one of them's called Your Neighbors. If you want a fantastic song where the song itself doesn't stick to a genre, look up Smacked by Your Neighbors. Smacked by Your Neighbors, I'll have a link in the description for this, but Smacked by Your Neighbors is an amazing song because it essentially rapidly transitions between funk, new funk, I think it might have hip-hop elements in it. It goes to metal and screamo. It turns into reggae at one point. It turns into hyperpop. Like, it's one song, and yet it genre hops like mad and goes crazy across all these different genres. And I think that that is super duper cool. Similarly, there's Vansire. They're a band that I really, really, really love. I'm going to make a whole video about their album, The Modern Western World. But they're a great example of a band where their vibe is consistent across all the songs of the album. However, the album itself is all completely different music. It starts out as folk and bluegrass music, and then it turns into alternative rock, and then it turns into hip-hop, and then it turns into K-pop. Like, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. It's a multinational project that takes influences from all sorts of different places and kind of combines them together into one intricate and interesting album. And so as you move on through the world, you know, to kind of wrap up what I'm talking about, as you enjoy all the different playlists on Spotify, you know, I want you to think about what makes genre and how that's evolved with time. Because originally, I think we thought about it very much as a strict categorization method. Whereas now, I think genre really is much more of a feeling and a vibe than it is a strict set of rules that define music. And you can use that feeling and vibe to find more music that you enjoy because it reflects the genre, you know, that you have enjoyed. And so, I don't know, I just really like to see the walls of music being challenged a bunch by people. I really like to see things change so dramatically as they have. I just really find it fascinating, and, you know, music is a really big part of my life, so I'm happy that I get to kind of share this thought that I've had with y'all. But let me know what you think. You know, I'd like to know, do you think music and genre as a feeling makes sense, or do you prefer a more rigidly defined sort of genre? And then on top of that, I guess, what genres do you enjoy? Like, I'd love to hear about new music. I love finding new music. I'm probably going to start a playlist. I'll probably talk about it in another video, but I'm probably going to start a playlist on my Spotify that I can, like, link to so everybody can listen to the kind of music that I, like, suggest or really, really enjoy. And I'll just have this big playlist of, like, cool bands that I like. But yeah, let me know what you like. Let me link down in the comments, like, if there's any specific band you'd like me to check out, you know, let me know. Because I'd be really interested just to listen to the kind of stuff you enjoy as well, if you're interested in listening to what I enjoy. Also, before I end up the video, this log is covered in really great fungus. I like this guy. These are pretty cool. They look like mushrooms, so I have a feeling they are, except for this one up here, which kind of looks like a slime mold. And so it's very hard to tell. If you don't know what a slime mold is a really interesting creature that is alive. It is halfway between a plant and animal, essentially. Slime molds can move around, which is really weird. They look like a little lump of like yellow pussy liquid, but they can actually move around and like go places, which is wild. You just never see them do it. And they're actually moderately intelligent. They can be used to like solve the mazes. You can like put a slime mold in a maze and then put food on the other side of the maze, and it will find the most efficient path to get to the food, which is really interesting. So yeah, slime molds are cool, but yeah, that's genre as a feeling. I hope that you enjoyed my little thought process here, and I think that's pretty much it for the moment. As always, I've been flipping my Stitch Steel Alien in this video. I really love this knife. It is just such a beautiful balisong, and it feels so good to flip. So thank you, Stitch, for making this. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you later. Peace.